As soon as they took their flag down, many of us, young boys, young girls, school children, everybody were crying. My temper was crying.
Welcome to You Talk. In this episode, we will cover a very important period within our country, the national general elections, focusing specifically on the electoral process and the polling period.
Voting is one of the most basic rights, as well as I think it's a civic duty for every citizen of Papua New Guinea, because this is where all our complaints, criticisms, everything that we talk about regarding government, this is where we exercise actual power. Every citizen should consider the election process as a recruitment process. You're recruiting a manager, you're recruiting a board member for the country, so you need to take it seriously. These gentlemen and women will be going into parliament and making decisions that will maybe in some direct way or some indirect way affect each and every one of our lives.
Now, as you have gathered from this brief introduction, we have been an independent nation for a very short time. Nevertheless, this was our 9th general election, and it should be a fair question to ask if over this period of time, we have gotten better at this process, or actually worse. Trying to answer these fundamental questions will be one of the main objectives of the episode that you are about to watch.
If young people can band together and stand together and address issues such as this, I'm pretty sure we can make a difference in this country.
I arrived in PNG in the beginning of '78, but yes, it was taken very seriously. Of course, it was very much managed by the Kiaps in the first election. And so they were very, very much organized around keeping those village books, village records. So when it came to organizing the elections, those first elections were pretty well organized.
It is now Friday, the 8th of July. We're heading to our first polling station now, hoping that the polling officials have set up and people can actually start voting today. So it's going to be an interesting day. There's a lot of movement, unlike Monday and Wednesday. And so we're very excited to be able to head out and go and see the polling booths today. So it's an indication that young people are keen, willing to participate in the electoral process and ensure that their power through their vote is given to their proper mandated leaders.
What encourages people to vote? If they're your Klansmen, they're going to vote because they're sort of your Klansmen. So it's a natural linkage. But to get people across the whole electorate to vote, then maybe there are other things that come in, like money and other rewards.
it out, it was obvious even that, the blind man can see that these 4 boxes did not come with the rest of the boxes. The size was different, the tape was different, the writing was different, the color of ink was different, the dates were different, even the numbers. Like all these numbers ended in 20 and this extra box, 21 and 20. Who does that?
Yes.
Number ends in 15. This one, 16 and 15. Yes. Who does that? Yes. So we had a right to have a reasonable suspicion that these boxes were not in line with the others. Because the others, I can say for sure, they probably came from your office. But the other 4, they came from somewhere else. So
What's happening?
So the candidates have put together a petition, and that petition will go to the Electoral Commission for the destruction of the boxes that contain the ballot papers that have discrepancies.
Yeah, it's been clearly a frustrating period leading up, because some of it was identified after the last election. If you follow those recommendations in a timely manner, you minimize the risks of problems. If you don't address them, and it's like in the last minute at the polling station, inevitably you're going to trigger frustration.
Aku need the record. Below Electoral Commission, below scrutiny, sit down, break up, admin college. There's supposed to be 6 polling booths set up here. Instead, this morning, they set up only 5 polling booths. On record, it's supposed to be 6.
Just try and explain the change.
You mentioned.
That's it. Why did you change it? Why yes? Overnight. So that's overnight.
I didn't change anything. It's on the schedule here.
The voters of Moresby North East, stay strong. Know this. When the forces of good are winning, the forces of evil come out. Stay strong. Maintain the fight. Keep watch. We want peaceful, honest, transparent, fair and free elections. I'm so sorry. Can't believe this is happening to my country. We need help. Sorry about all of my recycling. I recycle everything. So I have boxes in here with plastic, cardboard, glass, paper. I don't know why. Grandfather belum me. So mama belum me and begini ni belum em. No, but I was just trying to show you. I need my glasses. But there's a documentary I was sent by ABC Archives. It's in my laptop. I'll show it to you. It's a Four Corners documentary covering the first election ever in 1964. When we first ever voted. I'll show it to you. It's in my laptop.
I understand that. So 1964 you have to.
Australian government. But now that they've given us a chance to say what we want and to express our own point of view in front of the eye of the world.
And most of the European get all the position, and we want to get a few natives so that later on a few European and a few natives mix together and be alright.
We used to be called natives.
Selian Suguman Nabato. Na long time long election, by name long the sla triple man is tap long.
So well organised though, I mean.
You broke him, also you pass him, but you come.
These benches will be occupied by men of different race, different language, and very different social backgrounds. They'll have to come to terms with each other and have to find a measure of common ground. It may be that the need to talk together will lead to the ability to live and progress together.
You know, throughout my campaign, I was trying to express this to people. We have gone backwards. We haven't just paused or stagnated. We've actually gone backwards. The quality of life of all the citizens of this country back then was better than it is now. I could see it starting to collapse in the mid to late 80s. I do remember an influx of people from other parts of the country coming in, and I do remember the beginning of all the barbed wire fences going up. And then we had a curfew. I remember the first tribal fight that I ever saw in here was Tari versus Kumini. I remember that, tear gas being thrown, that had never happened before. They'd brought their payback thing down here and I stood in an election just now with 76 other candidates, and I think that maybe only six were not Highlanders. And they campaigned aggressively. And the Highland style of politics, of campaigning, has been brought down here. It wasn't here before. It removes the thought processes from individuals where you have one person, one vote, and it's your vote, and it's a secret ballot, and you cast your vote and choose who you want. It removes that from individuals.
There's one moment you seem to be very distressed.
Yeah.
What was happening at that? What were you seeing at that?
That was polling day. So on polling day, everyone's expecting that they're going to be able to vote. And then I start getting phone calls saying, we're wondering when the polling officials are coming. Nothing's happened from different polling sites. Nothing's happening. We ended up going down to the Sir John Guy Stadium where all the polling boxes were. And there they were all still sitting there. This was at about 11 o'clock on polling day. They had not even left the building to go to the polling sites. And I had also just received the news of the woman being shot and killed. I had been contacted the night before that event and told that my supporters were being intimidated and scared. They were messaging and saying we're being threatened and intimidated by Highlanders who are trying to, warning us not to go and vote and things like that. It's a strategy to create chaos and intimidation around the polling sites. Supporters of a particular candidate will come in great numbers and just flood that polling site and intimidate everybody to leave. And suburbs like this, where it's educated people, professional people, most of those people didn't vote.
idiot and murderer to look after my children, the children of the people.
I kept saying corruption does not happen by itself. It's not like the leader, the candidate is corrupt. He cannot be corrupt if people around him do not participate with him or her. We can't just keep pointing the finger at people. We need to look at each other.
On the day that polling began, Fide Giuliano and George Bale had their wedding in Port Moresby. Fide comes from the Ley district, but she's been working in the United Nations office in Port Moresby. George Bale is a PMG technician and a former Queensland 6 Mile champion.
You don't think you'll face really any more difficulties than any married couple would here?
Oh yes, we probably will, mainly due to the fact that our cultures are entirely different. But we realise what we're up against and we just face it as a challenge.
Supposing that you have children, do you think it'll be hard for them?
It possibly will be harder for them than us. What do you think, honey?
Some people think it's going to be very hard, but I personally, the sort of a lot of mixed races up here, you see a lot of mixed marriages and a lot of mixed race children. And, I have known a few very well brought up mixed race, and they're very good. And I think it depends on the parents.
I still put all of my hopes in the young people of this nation. I'm going to start to cry when I talk about it, because that's where I believe that's where the solution lies. The young people of Papua New Guinea have inherited the mess. They've inherited a mess that's been made by my generation. Somebody who's 16 today is going to vote in the next election. Somebody who's 15 today is going to vote in the next election. So we need to make, the programs available for them to understand. That's what we need to get to here.
And it's not just this dysfunction, it's not just the
You can't expect everyone in the country, when they're trying to survive and haven't got enough money to put food on their table, necessarily to be having big philosophical or geopolitical debates on issues. But within schools, that is a place where you can have a bit of a discussion and dialogue and encourage, but you've got to encourage the teachers as well as the students to sort of actually want to do that as well.
Thank you, Long. Yupla Ogerakam, Lodisla. Nice plan. I didn't have a very big campaign team. I didn't spend a lot of money. So for me to run again is easy. If they have a by-election, bang, because I did it with hardly any money. Because I also think that's Ep3. We're a poor, poverty-stricken district. Where's all these millions per candidate coming from? I've got Sembla Uplaya, please. If you've got access to money, use it for something good. This experience cannot be wasted, whether that be imparting everything I know on other candidates, or whether that be going again as a candidate, or whether that be using it to create tools and resources to help educate our population. I mean, all of those things. This experience cannot be wasted.
This is it for this episode of Youth Talk, during which young people have been called to action. But what is it that we should really do moving forward? I am looking at all this technology in front of me, and I am wondering if this could really be an instrument of change. In a way, I feel a burden on my shoulders. And if covering these elections has taught me anything, it's that change starts with me, and it needs to start today.